Welcome back to The Martial Way, the podcast where we go beyond technique and tradition into the spirit, the stories, and the silent lessons that shape martial artists from around the world. Today's guest is someone whose journey moves across continents, across disciplines, and deep into the heart of martial purpose. Eira Culverwell is a lifelong martial artist, fourth-degree black belt in Kyokushin Karate who, despite decades of experience, made the bold leap into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and currently a competitive brown belt. But her story isn't just one of styles, it's about self-discovery and a deep, almost spiritual pull towards Japan. She has spent over 14 years exploring Japan's cities and countryside, training, competing, and falling more in love with its culture every time. For Eira, Japan isn't just a place she visits, it's part of who she is. So let's step on the mat together and listen in, and I hope you enjoy. Hi, Eira.
Hey, how are you?
I'm wonderful. But just now, before we start recording, we were talking about how to pronounce your name, and you said the Welsh pronounce it a little differently,
Yeah, so
and
it's
then you made a little reference that I said you are Welsh, and you were like, unfortunately, that's a why.
I'd much rather be Japanese.
And that makes sense, and we'll talk about that because that makes sense to me. But I think it'll make more sense to folks when we get going.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah. I don't ever feel like this is home. I feel like I'm a constant visitor.
oh yeah, I get that. So, how's your day? I think you're a physiotherapist as well, right?
Yeah, sport therapy. So today my weekends are super busy. I have spin classes Saturday and Sunday morning. I take them. So I try to torture people in the morning and then try to fix them in the afternoon. So it goes hand in hand. Uh, So it's been a pretty full-on day because tomorrow I fly to Thailand. So everyone breaks the week leading up, and I'm a bit like, guys, could you give me some warning instead of, back to back of 5 people today? Plus, I packed. I'm super organized. Again, the whole Japanese trait comes in where I packed about a month ago, but uh, yeah, it's just busy. It's always busy on the lead up to disappearing for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and on that note, because I was trying to fit this in, is this a vacation or training or what or a
Uh,
combination? Where are you off to?
Well, I'm going to Bang Tao. So one of my friends is one of the wrestling coaches in Bang Tao MMA. Um,
Well
I go
known.
there quite a lot. He's an excellent wrestling coach. He's actually very good at no gi. He's very, very athletic. So we have fantastic rounds.
Mm.
I'm going for training and tanning. That's
Mm.
about it. Sitting by the pool when I'm not training or being wrestled. I'm not a wrestler, but he's going to try and make me into a bit of a wrestler. So we'll
So you're
see.
not a wrestler, but you play one on TV. Kind of.
Yeah, I mean, like Nogi has wrestling in it, but I need some proper wrestling input into my
Yeah.
game.
Well, let's park everything and let's go right back to the beginning for folks that don't know you and stuff. So you started in Kyokushin, right?
I started
Or maybe not. Maybe what was your first martial art?
Taekwondo.
Taekwondo. Yeah, like almost every kid in Western Hemisphere.
True. Yeah, that was my first. I hated ballet. My mum was a professional dancer. So and I feel sorry for her. I think she wanted this girly girl and she got a tomboy. I cut my hair short at 7 and refused to wear any dresses and wore black ever since. Uh,
I love
so I
it.
started in Taekwondo purely because I got bullied. I was forced to go. I hated the first 6 months of it.
How
Hate
old were you then, roughly?
about 7.
Mm.
Um, hated hated going. I felt like I was being beaten up every time I went. Um, then my parents are sport parents, so I wasn't allowed to quit for at least 6 months. We couldn't afford for me to quit every sport. My mum was like, "Nope, you're staying there." Um, so I did pretty well in taekwondo. Competed a lot. My mum was again the mum that came on every competition. She turned up screaming at me at the side. Um, And then we
Soccer
moved.
mom for
Yeah, yeah,
that.
but in martial arts. So she's been to this day, she'll still come with me all over the world. I
Oh
have to tell her
wow.
to sit up now. She will, like she'll wave. I can hear her everywhere, but she'll wave that flag. Me in my 40s still competing, but we we moved house, and I couldn't find anywhere that did taekwondo. Um, so I found karate, and I still remember the first session, and I thought I was a junior black belt. I always say it's a junior black belt in taekwondo, and the first session I went to, I thought I was pretty good, pretty chocolate at like won quite a fair bit of tournaments. And of course, you don't use many hands in Taekwondo. And I got thumped from one side of the dojo to the other. And I remember one of the sensei saying, "It's not Taekwondo now." It was a steep learning curve, but kind of fell in love with it and
Hmm.
stuck at it for a fair while, um, until fast forwarding. Uh, Basically, the first time I went to Switzerland, and there was this man teaching groundwork. Um, and I was like, what is this wizardry? It was Todd. And I was like, why have I not been seeing it? Why have I not seen this? What's going on here?
But hold on a second. But at what point? So where are you now in the Kyokushin journey when you saw that?
So I was, yeah, fourth dan.
Oh, holy! That's what I thought you had gone to. That's
Yeah.
okay. And so for folks who, I know a lot of people watch this stuff, they're into Kyokushin, but for those who are not, it's hard enough to get a black belt in Kyokushin. Like I was aching it to like Jiu-Jitsu. It takes a long time. It doesn't in a good legit Kyokushin school. It takes a very very long time as well. It could take upwards close, 10 years or whatever, less depending on how you know how often your aptitude and all that kind of stuff. So it's not easy. And then on top of that, the degrees, even at time spacers, it takes a while. Then plus all the testing and that. So hold on a second. So you were fourth dan in Kyokushin. How old were you?
So we moved home when I was 15. So I just basically went to the nearest place I could find that did it because it was walking distance. And I was like, oh, we'll give that a go. I'm not going to not do a martial arts. I didn't know
And that was
anything else.
Kyokushin.
Um, so I basically just trained. I mean, when I say train, we trained as a standard 3 times a week. I wanted to learn all of the kata to green belt by the time it was the first winter camp, and I
Right.
did.
Wow.
I have a photographic memory, so I see things 3 times and I can replicate the pattern. Annoyingly, kata was my kind of like go-to, especially taekwondo with the patterns. I
Mm.
loved it, and I studied it to the point where I would know all of the katas, um, all the way up to second dan by the time I was brown belt.
Wow.
I refused to not be in the line with the black belts. I was like, no, I'm going to be as good as these guys. So I loved kata. I just would study it. I'd go on holiday. I'd watch it. Um, my boyfriend at the time, he was a second dan. Um, and still remember to this day him testing me out in the bedroom, telling me like, "Come on then, let's do all your katas." So I just wanted to be good, fast. Um, I mean, I've got patience now, but I had very little patience on the time frame when I was from, I don't know, 17 onwards. I just wanted to be a good black belt and fast, and that doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, exactly.
But I always
So how
want.
old were you when you did get that the black belt?
Oh, I was 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it wasn't fast.
Yeah.
It
But
was, and you know what it's like. You get beaten up, and I'm the smallest. I was
Well,
always the smallest.
that was going to be one of my other questions. Like if you don't mind me asking, like how tall are you? Like,
I'm 163 centimeters, so
what's
about
that in Western?
5'5".
Yeah, that's what I think, Aaron. If I so, yeah, you're.
I'm really long limbed, but I'm about 50 and a half kilos. So what's that in pounds? 100, 109.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
I'm petite size, child size, as everyone calls me.
I don't know if that's child size, but yeah, you're still on the smaller side. So, what was that like in Kyokushin? Like, as again, for folks that don't realize, Kyokushin is a full contact martial art. You can wrap that in quotes because we use like, especially in the gym, and now we use padding and shin pads and whatever. But how was that as a more petite young lady in a full
Brutal.
contact sport?
Brutal. Um, I'm a bit of a stubborn old ox, even when I was younger. For the ones who kind of come up through the martial arts now, I mean, we would have the whole kicking the bamboos, um, sit-ups and being punched in the stomach type of thing. It was the hardcore stuff. Press-ups on your knuckles. You slide a bit of paper in between your knuckles to make sure you're doing press-ups properly. And it was none of this. You can drop your knees to the floor because you're a female. You are going to put your nose to the floor and up you go.
Mm.
It was even finger press-ups and everything you could imagine. It was you do what the guys do. And I wanted to do what the guys did. So it was always, ugh, my mum hated the bruising. That was always you have to do that. Look at the state on you. Um, yeah, it was always tough, especially grading. Um, I still have vivid memories of, you're doing your Dan grade, your second Dan, third Dan, fourth Dan, and the guy sweeping you and being pulled up by the scruff of your gi to be put back on your feet, and they sweeping you again, and you're just like, just get up, just keep getting up. It's fine. It'll be over in less than an hour. It's all good. Just keep punching. Um, yeah, it's. I think you've got to be. I've used this quote recently, and more in jujitsu. I've said karate hardened me, jujitsu softened me.
Aha, I like that. And so now let's segue to that. So you said where were you when you first saw grappling?
I was on a seminar in Switzerland. Um, so Mark House was there, Todd was there. It was Nicholas's camp, one of the Hellstorms. Um, I think that was the first time Terry was there as well. So it was a little bit of a wow. I'm walking into a room full of men, and here
If
I am waving my belt with a fourth little gold tags on it. And I was like, oh no, here we go. How to prove a point that I can like be in a room full of these high grades as the female who's a high grade as well. Excellent. Um, so we did stand up. Um, then Todd did his bit, which was all groundwork, and that's the first time I've ever seen side control.
and folks who when you say Todd he's not like Prince or Madonna. He
Uh,
has more than
he's been on your podcast
yes.
as
So Todd Reeves.
yeah. Um, So obviously Todd comes back from like an eclectic martial art background, like
Yeah.
a bit like me. Is always a bit of a joke. He's one step ahead of me all the time, which really irks my competitiveness.
So he was showing some ground stuff. So you hadn't been familiar with it. Had you seen it at all before, or really was that your first
Yeah, a little
exposure?
bit, but you know what? I was so tunnel vision with karate, and I mean, I just lived and breathed it. That's what I cared about. I just liked karate. I loved training, I
Yeah.
loved sparring, I loved fighting. And then I saw this groundwork and I was like, well, I knew judo did a little bit, but what's this?
Mm.
Um, and it was very basic stuff, but as in like, for someone who'd never seen side control to
Mm.
south to mount, and a basic kimura. And I was like, well, where do I do this?
Yeah, I like what you said earlier on. What is this wizardry?
It was. I was like, this is magic. Oh my goodness, we can control someone on the floor. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
and it was from then, and it quite literally became that white belt obsession.
Yeah.
Went
Oh, I
home to
relate.
the club, and it turned into how many times can I train in a week?
So what was so was that like that's a pretty pivotal thing because you had spent so many years doing striking,
Yeah.
essentially, right? In Kyokushin and prior to that Taekwondo. W- w- Like, was that the moment like that you realized like, okay, like what? Sorry, I'm trying to frame this question. Like, was it Kyokushin was no longer enough, or was it just the new bright shiny object that was like, oh, now I have a new path of passion,
Um,
or
so
a mixture, or
it was kind of at a time where um I started to fall out of love with basically being just doing karate, kind of thinking there's got to be more, that I can either bring back to the dojo or, I was like, is this all we have in like the syllabus and like the combinations that I felt like it was just the same thing each time. And I don't know whether it's just maybe I should have explored different clubs or traveled a bit more. I didn't actually travel that much other than maybe competing. I went to a few kind of like Shutkan or Waduru competitions and just to have a go
right?
was a bit like, wow, this is something I could get my teeth into and be a white belt again. That bit of I don't mind being humbled. It doesn't bother me. Look, I'm 50 odd kilos. I'm the nail all of the time. So I just thought, you know what? Let's be a white belt again. This is just new information. And, this is another world that could just lead to something. At the time, I was doing both in tandem. And Terry Burkett was like, are you really going to give up stand up just to do grappling? And I was like, I think so. I think I need to give this a bit of a go. It ignited something in me where I was like, do you know what? Reckon I'll have a bit of fun doing this.
Mm.
Yeah, and here we are.
Yeah. Did you like? Did you just cut and just go to jujitsu, or what? Like, was there overlap, for like, did the
There wasn't
Kyokushin
any.
fade out, or?
There was an overlap, so I tried to do the overlap for a while. So I kind of broke away from karate and moved into shinatemi.
Mm.
Um,
For folks, what is Shinatan? I know what it is, just but for
so it's a Japanese style of MMA. It's striking, throwing, grappling. Todd Reeves is head of Shinatemi. Um, so it's a multidiscipline where you have your striking, you have your throwing, and then you have your grappling. Um, but the conditions for me to actually run a dojo at Shinatemi was I had to be a minimum of a blue belt in jiu-jitsu.
oh, actually, I didn't know that.
Well, that might be just for me. Uh, so he kind of dangled that carrot, and I was like, "Damn, that's at least 2 years of committing to grappling as a minimum,
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and it's fair, you just can't. I don't want to. I would never want to be that person that could do stand up and teach a really rubbish armbar and be slated for it by the jiu-jitsu community. We all have undergrounds in different disciplines, right? You don't want to be that person on that underground.
Mm.
So I threw everything at a little bit of both. And then I taught Shinatemi. So I had quite a big teen class, I would say. A little bit of the adults, but I focus more on teens. Um, purely
This was in the
because,
UK.
yeah, so I could
Yeah,
actually grapple and strike with these teenagers and kids rather than having, look, I'm not in any um disillusion that men really want to train with women who are 50 kilos. It's different now, but it wasn't, going back nearly a decade ago. No one
yeah.
really wants to have a small petite female telling them how to kick and punch and potentially throw. Again, it's different now. So I focused on kids and teens, and um, they were little buggers. They were always very good. They're great grappling partners because they move fast. Um,
Yeah.
and they're fearless. If they wanted to double leg me to the ground, they did not care. They'd charge at me. They did not care that I was an adult. It was, let's get Sensei to the floor and pin her. And let's choke her at the same time. So that was always wild. Our sessions were always great fun, but there was always discipline. The Kyokushin always came out that it was still, you know, press ups and
What about structurally, like with the
press.
bow in?
It was always, even Shinatemi in Japan, and I'm sure Todd would agree. It's still discipline. It's still the traditional martial arts compared to just jujitsu, where it's a little bit more casual.
Mm,
Um, I still quite like that discipline. Do sometimes I do struggle with that with jujitsu, where it's all very a little bit cash.
yeah.
I think that's I'm institutionalized. Uh, you do it a lifetime, and it's very hard to just be casual about something when you step onto the mat. I have to stop myself doing a little bit of a bow. I just kind of go, just walk on the mat. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Really, can though I bow?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, like, is there any difference between, like, yeah, I'm in jiu-jitsu here, same thing. Like, it's super, super casual. Everything from the music pumping to like just come and go, whatever. What about drifting away from this though? I want to come back to it, but it's interesting to me. Dojo jiu-jitsu schools, dojos in Japan, are they the same like here in the West where they're very, very casual, or is there more traditionalism in their dojos?
Um, it depends who's running it. So
Mm,
if there's Westerners running it, who have maybe married a Japanese um female, because it's mostly guys who are running the gyms,
yeah.
there's music pumping. You don't have to bow as you go on the mat. There was one gym that I went to, zero music, which was very odd to go back to the state where you hear people breathing here.
Mm.
Um, like in karate, you just kind of hear everyone panting and like working hard. Normally, the music sort of drowns it out a little bit in jiu-jitsu.
Good
So
point.
that was strange, hearing my own breathing and like panting as I'm rolling.
I
Very
think you just described John Donaher's studio as well. That's what I've heard. It's very, very quiet, very serious, and
Yeah, I need that music even now when I'm training. Um, oh,
oh no.
your camera's gone off.
Yeah, so I know this, so this is the technical hiccup that I had last time that was supposed to be solved. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna hit pause. Let's remember where we are, and I'm gonna see if I can salvage this without same thing happening as last time because conversations are so good and it just throws it right off. All right, so let's pause. All right, folks. Sorry. Keep getting the same technical hiccup. I do promise, I am going to sort this out, but mostly apologize to Ira. Sorry. Bowing on the mats.
Yes.
In Japan versus, yeah.
There are traditional gyms, I guess. Um, the one is very traditional. You bow on the mats. I think you just follow suit. And I've always thought that when you go to Japan, follow suit. You won't stand out too much if you
Hmm.
follow everyone's sort of um, routine. But for the most part, and I've trained in a lot of jiu-jitsu gyms over in Japan, really casual, very welcoming. Everyone's very happy for you to be there. And for me, they're all the right size human beings. I am on the wrong side of the world for jiu-jitsu.
That's funny. I never thought of it that way. Actually, on that note, like, did you ever, like, was there a time along this journey from Kyokushin and into Jiu-Jitsu, did you ever, how can I put this? Was your size and your frame ever impact your thinking around your martial arts or martial way direction, like Kyokushin, like practicality speaking? Like, I know we're concentrating talking about sport right now, but let's say, God forbid, it was from a self defense perspective. Did that ever sway your thinking at all too? Like Kyokushin as a more striking thing, whereas grappling kind of gave even the cards a little bit, given that it's such technique based.
I did karate very much for it being a martial art slash a little bit of a sport. Like compete. That's the sport element. I didn't do it for self-defense. Um, I
All right.
didn't even do it taekwondo for self-defense when I was getting bullied. It was, I guess it's such a strange mindset to think back, oh, did I do it for self-defense? No. Um, when most people go, oh, I'm doing this for self-defense, I was like, I just loved martial arts. By the time I did taekwondo, my dad did a bit of kung fu and I did a tiny bit, and I'm talking, nominal. I couldn't even, I think I got the first sash. Um, and my dad did it for a bit longer, and did a few bits with me in the back garden, but it was a bit like, oh, I want to do this. But I love Bruce Lee. I was very much into the martial art world without being in there. Um, I didn't do I didn't do karate for the self-defense. I loved a bit of a scrap. I'm tiny and I'm like, you know, sometimes I look at the room and I'm like, oh, it's all right. I'll have the biggest guy there. I'll have a bit of fun. Not that I think I can be him. I just like sometimes going with the biggest guy in the room because they're so fun. Like, I mean, I'm not, I'm not going to beat them. I'm not going to armbar them. I just have a good giggle if I'm doing rounds with them. Um, but it was never self-defense. Jiu-jitsu is not for self-defense either. It really is a sport to me. Would I be able to pull something off in the street? I think I have a fair go-to techniques, possibly. Um, I ran a self-defense company for 10 years, and
Oh wow.
that was very much I had to do restraints, physical restraints, qualifications, train people that would go into prisons as a physical restraint officer.
Oh wow. I had no idea. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
did that for a fair while. We went into schools, doing actual self-defense, but none of this pressure point stuff. It was practical, stranger danger. If you had to get out of it, wrist grab, blunt trauma, get out of there, knowing you need to go for safety. None of this where you're gonna, do a uchimata and get into the floor nonsense. Um, so it was very much that was my life has been encapsulated around martial arts. Self-defense is two very different entities. Um, I don't try and blur them. Um,
Oh, interesting.
yeah, just my whole world is basically training in martial arts of some respect of even my thinking and like kind of concepts of how I live my life. It's a very much the especially more Japanese style. Much so again to my mother's horror when I'm a control freak. I'm very ordered and disciplined. I sound very boring.
Maybe some. I don't think so. I think that's awesome. I think there's something. I always think there's freedom in discipline,
Yeah.
in order.
I think is a lot for I'm a bit of a free spirit, like I'll travel the world on my own. I'm not bothered about getting on a plane and meeting new people and walking into a dojo doesn't faze me. Um, but I like order. My house is very orderly. It's I would say it's more like a home from home in Japan type thing. Everything has a place, and if it goes out of its place, whoever's visiting, my right eye twitches a little bit.
so 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 let's dive into that part. So you started traveling to Japan, I think like a long time ago now, right? Like
Yeah, 2010 was the first time I went out with karate, and it was a weird one because we were doing Kyokushin. We did a bit of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, um, and then we did Shotokan and Wado when we were out there. A little bit of everything combined in a trip. Obviously, the Kyokushin was the most brutal part of the experience because I've never been swept onto a hard wooden floor so many times.
Yeah.
Or being in a small gym above a restaurant and it's boiling hot, and you had the one sensei stood in front of you because I was the only female and I was a Nidan. And I think I did about 200 kicks with him stood in front of me with a kick shield, and all he said afterwards, good. I've never been so thankful that he said good in all my life. I was like, my goodness. He said good. That means I'm good. That's fine. I'll have that as a takeaway in Japan.
What, like, is it rare to get a compliment, or is it?
It was a female, particularly as I was the only female and I was the only downgrade in there.
Mm,
Female. So I was stood in the front line and I just thought, oh, you've got your work cut out tonight. And I knew they were going to try and break us. We were foreigners, and then I was a female, and
oh, so you had a double
I
whammy.
was and I was a Nidan. I was just like, oh, here we go.
Yeah. And was it true? Like, did they
Yes,
try to?
yeah. I think we did kata for a good hour back to back. Um, we did a lot of Kion, a lot,
Mm,
up and down, up and down. We did a lot of press ups as well. And then we fought, which was
mm,
yeah. I had bruises on the inside of my bicep for 2 weeks after I came home. Um, yeah, it's
but
but
yet so was that was it like love at first sight for Japan? Like, was that your, because you continue going back quite a bit after that? So,
yeah,
like, what was it
I just loved everything, the culture,
from that first trip?
yeah, yeah. I didn't start learning Japanese until mid-lockdown, believe it or not.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, really?
yeah. Do you know what? I don't know why I didn't even, other than in karate and
Dojo no Hyungo.
the odd takeaway, like Caesar Ray, and all
Yeah.
the like the
That's,
syllabus that we all
yeah, I call it Dojo
yeah
Nihongo.
we say all most of the stuff we say incorrectly anyway with a
Yeah.
bad English accent. Um, I can say that now because even though my Japanese is abysmal, but I hear Japanese from most people who say it in an English accent, and I'm like, do I sound like that? I know someone would say I do sound like that, and we've had arguments over that. I don't sound as bad as people who are just learning the Japanese.
I bet.
Um, but no, mid-lockdown, I thought, better give this a whirl, hadn't I?
I'm surprised it took that long. I would have thought you were like diving into jiu-jitsu or anything. You just, like, you got the taste of Japan. You're like, that's it. No, I'm gonna be fluent in 3 months.
I think brain capacity taking on jujitsu and being like, okay, let's fill my brain. I don't think I had much brain power to add in another,
Yeah.
especially Japanese. I mean, like it, it's it's not easy. It's
Yeah.
it's a different thing altogether. We're in
What is it?
space now.
Right. What do you think it is, or was, or is, still is, that calls you so deeply to Japan?
Um, it's strange. I feel like it just feels home. I remember landing there going, wow, I just felt like I belonged there. I don't know, maybe another life. Um, Maybe I was meant to have always traveled there earlier. I just feel very settled there.
Hmm.
Whenever I leave here to go to Japan, I land and I'm like, oh, I'm home.
Really?
I feel so calm. I feel very different there. I feel safe. I feel at ease. Um, I never want to leave. I'm always so miserable. I get on the train to go to the airport and I don't ever suffer with, I've never suffered with depression. I actually feel like I just want to cry on all the way to the airport, and I get home here, and for 3 weeks after, I'm a miserable human being to be around. I hate life here. Everything's dirty. People are rude. Just everything isn't the same. The toilets aren't the same. It's so different, and I think the end game for me has to be Japan. Um, Again, this is just a holding place for now.
Is there a particular part of Japan that you're drawn to more than another, or is it just Japan as a whole? Like, is there one area that you feel more connected to, or anything, or is just the entire island?
Um, Weirdly, it's because of the friendships I've made there as well. So I actually quite like Tokyo. I don't think I would live there. It's too much of a city for me. I love Kyoto. Oh, my mum flew out in the summer, and then my parents both came out for Christmas with me, and they they love that city. It's a smaller city. There's temple shrines, and then you've got a mix of modern with old, all in one place. It's walkable. It's not. There's obviously lots of people, but it doesn't feel like it's overrun. Um, it's just got a different vibe. I loved, I loved Okinawa. I love the
Hmm.
sunshine. Um, I can live in, you know, 40-degree heat. It doesn't bother me. I've got a tan. I'm mixed race. I did like the vibe there. I like the mix with the Western, with the Americans have settled there and they've got a base. I like the blend. It was very kind of chilled. Different vibe there. I do prefer the West. So I've done the whole Miyazaki route down and back up. So I do like that side of the world. It's kind of set back in kind of the 90s where everything's a little bit slower paced.
Oh, I like that.
Um, some of the buildings are still hand painted signs. Um, there's more open space. I love the old traditional buildings, like a lot of the Japanese houses, the type that most of the Japanese hate. They like the modern. I want that with a big Tory gate as my front entrance, please.
No kidding, I would too.
And a dojo attached to it. That would be fantastic. Um, so I would like the sort of the west part of Japan. It's slightly warmer as well. I'm not I'm not going to Hokkaido. I would die in -27. Um,
Does it get that cold there?
yeah, yeah. Todd was up there and he said it was like -26 and
Oh, I didn't know
it's
that.
snowing and snowing hard. Not for me. I'm too skinny for that. No.
And so you've been traveling all over Japan geographically like that too, but you're going around. You're actually training in different places as well, right?
Yeah.
How's that? What's that been like? Like you talked about when you went there initially and how you were treated as a female in Kyokushin is hard style, blah 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 blah. What would, and we're talking now. You're training. Is it primarily jujitsu, or are you still doing any training in? You're not doing Kyokushin now, right?
Oh no, I'm just doing.
So what's it like traveling jujitsu schools around all over and how you're accepted?
Um, you can just I message them on Instagram. Um, I'm always polite, so I think the etiquette goes a long way still in Japan. So I never just turn up, and I think you can in jiu-jitsu turn up to any gym, but I always just like to kind of say, "Oh, do you mind if I drop by? Is there any rules with gis? Because there of course there's some gyms across the world that you only have one, like a white gi, no
Right.
patches. Um, Japan's really like relaxed. Any gym I've gone to, you can wear whatever gi you want.
Hmm.
Very welcoming. They'll always come over and say hello, or if you're at the desk. A lot of them speak, a bit of English. Of course, if there's a Westerner that's running it, they're fluent in English and Japanese. Uh,
Is that common to have Westerners there
yeah,
with schools?
yeah, there's quite a few now that have kind of,
Hmm.
they're running their own gyms and or they have at least someone who's Brazilian or American or French that are there in the gym, if not running the gym and teaching classes or owning them. They've just kind of emigrated. Um,
Isn't that interesting though? I mean, because if we think about roots and stuff, I mean, jiu-jitsu started in Japan. before it went anywhere like Brazil or UK or wherever the case may be. And yeah, we might call it Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but it's Jiu-Jitsu,
Yeah.
right? They may have put their spin on it and stuff. So isn't that, I don't know, I just find it really interesting that they have Westerners commonly teaching a Japanese, wrapped in quotes, art in their own homeland.
It, it it is unusual. It was unusual the first time I walked into a gym and I was like, oh, it's not run by a Japanese jiu-jitsu person.
Yeah,
Um,
like I don't think you'd see that probably in kendo or in judo, maybe, or I don't know, maybe you would. I don't know.
not in Japan, definitely not judo
Yeah,
in Japan. I mean, like, I think that's very much you walk into a
right.
judo dojo and you're like, you're the only foreigner in there. You know you're going to get a bit of a hiding.
Yeah. So I find that fascinating. I find that really fascinating how they have a, I don't know what the even word is I'm looking for. I was going to say adopted that kind of like, I don't know what they even call that. I find that,
Brazilians in Japan, there's
sorry?
a lot of Brazilians in Japan that have settled there. There's a lot of
Yes.
gyms. Um, and I think they can, in some of them are fluent in Japanese, but they can at least get by. But it is quite strange when you first walk in and you
Yeah.
expect to have a Japanese and you're like, oh, you speak English and you're not Japanese.
Right. Yeah, like I would love to experience this because I had this image in my head like going to Japan and you're like experiencing the culture of like whether it's torii gates or big modern cities and stuff, but the same thing, that weird juxtaposition. Then you walk into this school and it's like you're walking into a like a jujitsu place in Manhattan.
Yes,
Like,
literally. I think that the only difference is um, a lot of the gyms will speak. If there's someone who can speak some English, it'll flip between Japanese and English.
right.
So you don't feel out of place. I've been in jiu-jitsu gyms where it's primarily Japanese and I understand enough, to actually get through the class and even more now, I'm not phased by it. I wouldn't ever feel like if you didn't know any Japanese, don't not go. Because everyone's so welcoming. Um, and they will roll. That I just think they're really good at rolling. They're small, compact. There's no spaces. A lot of them have a judo background, so if you want to get thrown to the mat, you don't know who you're coming up against. Even the females, you think she grips hold of you like, oh, you've done judo. If I don't want to
Wow.
get thrown today, I'll pull guard.
Yeah. 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 I guess you'd sense it pretty quick with the grips.
Very much so. But I think if you have the chance to go to Japan to do jujitsu, dude, I mean, like, it's so popular out there. Um, there's so many gyms to visit.
What do you think is one thing about the martial arts culture in Japan that you wish more people understood? Like that maybe we just think of it in a different way, or
I think everyone still has this illusion that Japan's this mystical place to go to do martial arts.
yeah,
It's not. You turn up in Japan, you get hit with the reality that it's another city and it's another place. They just speak a different language. They just take it very seriously. I think my takeaway from doing martial arts, whether it's judo, karate, you've got jujitsu, they just throw everything into it. It it's their way of life. They don't do anything by half.
mm,
You know, you go there and you go there to train. You don't go there to have a little bit of a social chat. You can have it after. You step on the mat, you go to train.
interesting.
But I think people still have that illusion when you say, I'm going to Japan. They're like, oh, wow. I'm like, it's Japan. It's another place, the same as any other country. Just, I don't know
Yeah,
why the martial art world still put it on a pedestal, I think. Until you go there, I mean, like, trust me, I'm not one of these that has stood by any grave in my gi, and I will never be that person. But I kind of cringe that people still do it. I'm just like, oh, the Japanese will probably cringe too. I'm sure they're just like, you stood at a grave in a gi looking ridiculous.
So that's so funny because I have a friend from Japan that he lived with me here in Canada for a while, Nori, and we used to have these conversations, and he would get cringy about different things like
I'm
that.
going to be stoned to death by everyone listening to this, and I do apologize, but I think because I spend so much time going back and forth to Japan, I think it just doesn't sit well with me. I'm just like, go training, like have the picture next to, where it's somewhere famous, outside Hombu, but don't go in your gi. Um, I
Yeah,
think it's a bit like, what's that weirdo doing?
it's so silly. Yeah, I find it cringy too, to the point where we were going to troll it. Me and a friend, we were literally just going to go next to like find some Japanese restaurants in our neighborhood and just go start taking pictures in front of them with in our dogi. It's so ridiculous,
But it's strange because no one walks around in their gi.
right?
No one. And like
Well, no one walks around doing us and all this other stuff that Westerners do as well.
it it's very different in jiu-jitsu, obviously, like us and us is never the same. It's not us is never a thing in jiu-jitsu in Japan. My goodness,
Yeah,
that's not a thing.
yeah,
But no one us is. Again in jiu-jitsu, yeah, you bow, but there's the formality is very different. It's some gyms do Caesar at the end, but we're not. You don't kind of us as you go past us. It's just like you know, high five, high five, high five, high five, bow off the mat. Um, so I don't know. I think people once they go there a few times, there's the whole illusion breaks down of oh, they're normal people like the rest of us.
yeah. Again, I'm harking back to my friend. I think he used to say something to the effect of like when he was here, he thought people were trying to be more Japanese here than in Japan.
Oh, I 100% think they are. I mean, like, I probably am victim to that a little bit. Not so much now. Um, 'Cause I just kind of it's kind of ingrained in me a little bit with my certain mannerisms. Um, I have to shake it off when I come home, nodding as I cross the road, and I'm like, don't do that here. That's weird. Um, but you get to Japan, and I had to like stop my mum, put her hand up to say thanks to, crossing the road. I was like, don't just nod your head. She was like, it's so weird. But by the end, she kind of got into a habit of, just doing that. So there's little things that you would kind of adapt when you go home and when you go back, when I go back to Japan. Um, like I come back here and I don't use chopsticks. I go to Japan and I use nothing else but chopsticks.
Right.
I don't know why. I've got chopsticks downstairs and they just stare at me, just I pick up a fork.
Right. No, I get it. I get it. I'm also curious too because you were saying like it feels more like home, and you get there's a certain sadness and certain things that perhaps drive you crazy coming back. I haven't been to Japan yet. It's going to happen. I've had 2 trips canceled on me now, but it's going to happen. But one thing that like even from my own reading, research, watching, all the kind of things, and you were talking a little bit about it before too, like this way of doing things where they put their passion into it or whatever dedication, but also there's this, and correct me if I'm wrong please, but there seems to be such a sense of pride and stuff around things, and it seems to be ingrained at quite early childhood, and this could be totally nonsense, but I remember seeing something about kids in grade school and stuff, where they were literally cleaning up after themselves and tidying up and stuff, which is literally unheard of here.
Oh,
But I find, again, going back to that thing we were talking about before, where I find freedom and discipline. I find that, like, when I see something like that, if it is true, I see something like that, I'm like, ah, I could breathe. Like, that's amazing. That's like a weight off me. It's beautiful.
well, the the most interesting thing, I remember having a conversation with my parents, and I said, watch when we get on the train, school time. There's little ones, there's, 5 and 6 getting on the train, um, you know, 3 or 4 at a time, going to school, no one bothers them. They get off, they go to school, or even if we were up early walking somewhere, like a shrine. Um, my mum was like, "What's that little kid doing on their own?" I was like, "Oh, waiting for the next lot of." Basically, they walk to school together sometimes, or they walk on their own for their friend to come along, or a little group of kids. They walk to school together. No one bothers them. It's so safe, and they're so disciplined, and they hold hands. It's adorable to watch, but it's also you just think you rarely could do that in the UK. 4 and 5 going to school on their own.
Oh, it would never happen here in a city like Toronto. No way.
And the way, my dad saw this more because my eyes are not fresh to Japan. My dad was so overwhelmed when he arrived in Japan. He was like, Ira, can you see that man is cleaning the escalator in the tube station? I was like, yeah, but he's cleaning the escalator. And I was like, yes. And he was like, and that bit of like the wall. And I was like, yes, Dad, this is Japan. She was like, they don't do that in the UK. Oh, we've lost again.
Ah! I love it. And it's always like right when I'm like so enamored of what you're saying.
It's
Okay, hold
right.
on.
We're cleaning in the tubes.
Okay, park it because I'm gonna. I think what I have to do is I literally have to stop it. This seems like and just reset it. I'm so sorry, Ira.
No, it's all right. Don't worry.
It'll be seamless when I put it all together. But
I know. Honestly, it's absolutely fine.
okay, one second. Amateur show, folks. I'm so sorry. Technical glitch again. We're talking about. All right, back into the conversation.
See, my dad was. It was very interesting to watch my parents' behaviors coming from, the UK to Japan, seeing the stark differences from someone cleaning in the train station. I mean, because I said, "Oh, I'm going to pop the loo." I was in the train station. My dad looked in horror, and I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
And he was just like, "I was like, go into the men's and tell me you wouldn't go to the bathroom." He walked in there. He was like, "The toilet seats lift up, and they're very clean." I was like, "Welcome to Japan."
Yeah, that's unheard of here too. Like in a big metropolitan city, like yeah, you wouldn't. It'd be a pretty dire situation before I went to
Oh, and
the
the
loo. And
UK, I would not go to the bathroom on the train station unless I really needed to.
yeah,
But no, my parents were that. My dad wanted to take one of the toilets home with him. He was like, "What is this?" I mean, I love the toilets. I mean, I come home and I'm
everybody talks about the toilets in Japan. Everyone I know that
oh,
goes there talks about the toilets.
from heated seats
Yeah.
to some of them have music. So if in your cubicle and you don't want to hear someone doesn't want to hear what you're doing, you press a button and it makes rain noises. Um, to having a very clean front and back bottom all day. It's outstanding. Um,
Crazy.
it's possibly one that you, when you do go, you'll be so depressed when you come home and you have to use a regular toilet. I'm very disappointed every time. Every time. It's quite hard to actually get these toilets here in the UK based on our regulations for installing them. Otherwise, I would have a toilet in each bathroom. Have it. Japanese.
Again, you're not the first person I've heard say this too. It's so interesting. It's interesting because it's about the toilets. Um, I hope this is there any change in this, like with the influence of Western culture on Japan through whatever, through media, through obviously through social media and stuff? Do you think it's going to stay this way, like that those types of the culture where they are courteous, they're clean, they're respectful of their environments around them, whether in nature or the city? Do you think it's going to fade out?
No, I think it's ingrained. I think they're highly irritated when foreigners don't uh, follow the rules. Like
Right.
basically, there's no bins anywhere. So if you buy something, say if you go to the 7-Eleven, Family Mart, or Lawson's, there's
Mm.
only trash cans in there. If you
Oh wow.
so there's no rubbish. The only rubbish I see is and I have seen a foreigner leave rubbish, and I've gone up and said, "Take your trash, take it home. Don't leave it here.
Ugh.
Not in this country." And they've looked at me as if to say, "Oh, why do you care?" I'm just like, "Not here. Like, do not, don't ruin a country that it has huge pride." So yeah, you just take your rubbish with you, and you put it in your recycling when you get back, to the hotel or Airbnb. But there's no bins, and I think it's fantastic because nobody drops litter.
That's
Nobody.
incredible. I can't even wrap my head around it. Like
That's
I
why I'm
see it constantly.
irritated.
I see it constantly here.
Well, when I land in the UK, I think I landed. We got back into the UK, and I said to Mum, I was like, "Oh, there's rubbish," and that was the first comment as I walked out from the airport. I was like, "Rubbish, excellent, we're home."
Oh dear. And crime and things like that are lower.
Yeah, after the jet lag kind of subsides, it's very much the UK.
So did I read? I think I read the article you did, or was it? Sorry, I totally forget now what it was. Japan, Travel Japan, I think, or something.
Yeah, I think it was. They approached me. I kind of followed their page because they do kind of trips, and if you want to go to language school, they can get in touch with schools and stuff like that. And they said, "Oh, would you be interested in doing an article?" I'm like, "Ooh, yeah, why not? I mean,
Yeah,
I've
it's
traveled
awesome.
a bit around Japan." Um, it was more of a, I think, from a martial art standpoint, but also as a foreigner, just visiting. Um, as much as I try not to be a visitor when I go there, but I don't look Japanese, come on. I
Yeah.
try to blend in, but there's only so much I can do.
Well, it was great because obviously I knew through Todd and stuff like that and Terry, but it planted the seed for me then for like, oh my gosh, why am I not getting her on the podcast? Like, but like this is amazing. And if my memory serves me in that article, or maybe I was somewhere else I read it, you have a dream about open your own school in
Oh,
Japan?
I would love, I would love to. I love jujitsu, and I love helping. I love teaching. I love coaching anything to do with martial arts. I feel very at home teaching. Um, I would love to be able to speak Japanese and English and combine it into jujitsu. That would be ideal. I wake up in my morning, and that's my goal.
You
Um,
need to open up a jujitsu school and literally attached or next to it an Airbnb for
yeah,
foreigners to come and travel, train, and
I have a plan that would be the ideal goal, where I have enough room, that I have a dojo, Airbnb, and people can come and actually rent it out. That would be spectacular. Enough ground where they can have a camp. They can have a training
yeah,
facility, and people can, the karate lot can come, the jujitsu lot can come, even judo. It's not
even judo.
jujitsu, it's like everyone can come and experience, you know, my dojo, and like you can come and train. You can come and train with the guys who are out there. You can visit the surrounding areas, and see the little bit of Japan while you're there.
I have a question about that, but something has popped in my head. This is probably going to be a really dumb, silly question, but because you keep saying dojo, one thing I noticed going from Kyokushin into Jiu-Jitsu is they don't call them here, at least they don't call Jiu-Jitsu dojos. They're either like academies, studios, whatever. What in Japan, do they call them dojos still, or do they pick up more that English vernacular of academy or studio?
I'm just trying to think where I've been. Uh, it depends again on the person. I pick up both. I kind of
Okay,
adapt. I kind of Whatever someone says, if they call it their dojo, I'm like, okay, they're calling it their
but is
dojo.
it more common to call it still dojo there?
Yeah, I think more for the traditional Japanese, a
Right,
dojo. If not, it's a gym. If not, it's I don't think there's a lot of academies out there. I don't think they
right,
use the word academy.
yeah,
It would be more like gym or dojo.
yeah. So if you could snap your fingers and make that happen now, that reality of having your own place with the Airbnb and all the stuff that you visualize, is there a particular place in Japan you do that?
Um, I would probably be further west, purely again for land space and affordability on the land space. Uh, so I would probably go more um, slightly warmer west side, so I could have I want the traditional. I do want the traditional look, where people kind of get blown away
Yes.
walking in, going, "This is super cool."
Yes.
Um,
And just for us ignorant folks that haven't been there, like when you say Western Japan, could you like name like a city or something if people want to
so
Google that area?
got kind of Kumamoto, Fukuoka, then you've got come round and you go to Beppu down to Miyazaki. So that part of Japan, um, I would say more historically, there's actually a very good jiu-jitsu academy in Kumamoto that I would like to go to because there's obviously there's a small female Japanese black belt there. She's a weight class above me, but she's excellent.
Mm,
So I would kind of want to gravitate somewhere that does have jiu-jitsu, so it's not just like, oh, what is jiu-jitsu on this side of the island,
sure.
um, but further enough away that I wouldn't step on any toes type of thing. The foreigner, the gaijin steps in and takes over some jujitsu and it'd be hated for it. But it'd be so nice to wake up and just be like, do you know, I'm gonna have, the Kyokushin lot this weekend. They've booked everything out and they got the dojo and I can a little bit of a tour guide type thing. I'm sure I'd
Yeah.
sick to death of it, but I don't think I would because I'd like to take everyone to Japan with me. I'm just like, come with me to Japan. I can show you around. I can speak
Yeah.
really bad Japanese, but we'll get by.
I love it. And you said you've been competing there. What's that been like?
So the first time I competed in jiu-jitsu in
Yeah,
Japan,
jujitsu, I meant.
2018.
Mm.
Yeah, 2018, I was a blue belt. So I did the Tokyo Open and Tokyo
Oh
Masters.
wow, how big was that?
Yeah, I got double gold.
But
Don't,
was it? What was the tournament?
it was so this first time I've ever competed in jiu-jitsu against Japanese people. They are so strong. Even my size. It was a little bit of an eye-opener of how kind of stubborn they are on the mat. I mean, like, I've never felt strength like it since.
Really?
That's why I like going and competing against Japanese my size. My God, they're strong pound for pound.
Really interesting.
Oh my, I was trying to choke this girl on her back. And Todd was there. He came with me and he was sat for he just let me go and do my thing. And I remember mid strangle looking up at him as if to say, what the why is she gurgling? Like she was not tapping. Like I could not tap her. She was making all sorts of sounds. And I was like, oh, you got 10 seconds. You're winning on points here. But like, let's try and get this sub. No, she gurgled away like for 10 seconds. And I was like, this isn't tight now. Come on. This is
Holy.
very polite, very humble afterwards, even in, like I won. But I recently, well, September, I went out to compete again. Fast, strong, um, ridiculously humble,
Hmm.
very organized event. I want to do it again this year, but strong. That's why I love because I think I'm quite small, in the UK, and I roll with people, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not that heavy. Like, and some people are like, you feel like double your weight. I'm like, really? I never think that.
Pressure is a thing. It's a
Yeah,
thing. It's a real thing.
I've worked a lot on like being heavy,
Yeah, me too.
but but you do kind of think because no one in my academy is, and I have a 16-year-old girl who's my size, and that's it.
Mm,
Everyone else is at least 64, 65, 66, 68 kilo females plus.
mm,
That's what I have. There's a massive weight difference.
mm.
So I kind of sometimes apologize at the end. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not as like strong. And they're like, oh, shut up. Like, I'm the person that inverts and goes upside down. And I'm a bolo. If I
Ah,
if I can bolo you upside down, myself upside down, and I get to your back, that's kind of I'm trying to be more of a pressure passer, but you know,
yeah.
I don't have a big ass or big legs. I mean, well, you live with your attributes, fast and small. But in Japan, there's no space. They're fast, small, and strong, and
Mm. How
yeah,
popular is it?
hugely popular. You can go to Tokyo and there you can just Google jiu-jitsu and it's everywhere, everywhere. I could train in at least in a, I would say a train ride of an hour, at least 12 gyms.
Wow, that's incredible. I wish it was that popular here.
That's a good and a bad thing, right? I mean, like, kind of, someone's obviously manipulated that one gym,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
but
Yeah.
it's everywhere. I mean, like, if you can go, you're you're quite a small guy as well. You know, you're not
Yeah.
big. I think you'd enjoy it. It's a different type of grapple, um, rather than a big boy grapple. You know, very different jujitsu.
Yeah, I'd be curious of that because you're right. Like I'm not like I don't even know what I am in kilos. But I'm 170 pounds, so I'm not that big. Um, and so yeah, when I go against a larger guy, it's that cliche thing. Like, and size does matter. And if
It's
they're crushing you, they can crush you.
anyone that says doesn't has never been 50 kilos.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm not saying, like even when I roll with big guys who I don't know, and I've been in scenarios where they're shaking to pin me, and I'm like,
Yeah,
dude, I
yeah,
didn't stop the roll. I'm like, dude, can you stop shaking? You don't have to pin me. Like, you
yeah.
can hold me with one hand. Can we just be technical? Like,
Yes,
if it's
yeah,
about winning, you've won. You can hold me indefinitely. Like, let's
yeah.
just roll. No,
Exactly. Yeah.
focus on what you want to work on. But if it's crushing me, that's a shit goal for you right now.
I I totally agree. And you know, but technique, it is a real thing though. Like just a few weeks ago, we had a seminar here um, with Kevon Gonzalez, and he came up, but his partner came with him as well, and Ness, and she's really high level, like competitively high level in the United States. And but she's a woman. She's more petite, and I rolled with her. She obliterated me. Like she just like she got past my guard and just her pressure for such a small person was so I'd never felt anything like it. So even though I was heavier than her pressure was far, far more than mine. And yeah, she worked her way up and literally strangled me, just RNC'd me. And it was absolutely incredible. And it's so humbling because I hadn't, to your point, like I do roll with women here, but I can't out muscle them if I wanted to. So I try to keep it as technical and just flow with them. But there was no out muscling her. Like her technique was at such a level that truly, truly, she destroyed me, and it was amazing. It was humbling and amazing.
It is when you see or witness someone do that at that high level, and there's levels, right? There's black
Oh
belts
yeah,
to the black belts. When you see that happen across the mat, and you like, oh, well done.
yes,
Well,
exactly. Yeah, yeah. And it's right. You're right about the levels. That's another thing that blows me away in jujitsu. Of course, it was in Kyokushin as well, but I've never saw it like this, where the levels. I don't even know where it stops because like I'll have folks like even my coach right now. He's very very high level and he ADCC champion, that kind of thing. But then to think, and he makes us look like children when he plays with us. But then I see him compete against these other high level and sometimes lose. And I'm like, this is nuts. Like, how does anybody, I can't even imagine someone actually doing anything to him. And it blows my mind, the levels of this. So then of course you get up to the levels of like a Gordon Ryan or something. It's just nuts. Like it's hard for me to even fathom.
and the thing now, you've got the kids coming through
Oh
that,
my God. And they're monsters.
like I watch a lot on Instagram,
Yeah,
and
me too.
you just have these kids that have been training since they were
Incredible.
tiny, and they should be black belts, right? I know IBJJF
Yeah.
have certain rules in place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sarah Galval storming through,
Yeah.
and you've got all of the kids coming through in AOJ, and you're like,
Yes.
I
Yes.
as much as I would be, it'd be fascinated to like go and train there. Right, you walk in and you're going to be absolutely destroyed. But you're like, if you're not there to learn, then you really shouldn't go. He's like,
Yeah.
you are going to be smashed by that 15-year-old blue belt. And I don't care what belt you are, even if you're a black belt, I call myself, I am a hobbyist, I'm a keen hobbyist. But you walk in, you're like, I'm going to be destroyed by that 15-year-old little girl.
It's so humbling.
And anyone that has an ego, I just feel like they shouldn't go to those places because you can take away from so much in that snapshot
Or
of
maybe they should.
I think they should, yeah, they should, but I don't think they would. They wouldn't
Yeah.
want to look inferior with that belt wrapped round, right? It's like I'd be like, right, show me that immediately.
Right. Yeah. And again, before I started doing jujitsu, I used to hear about it too, how humbling of a thing it is and stuff. But until you truly experience it, it's it's such. There's so many tools, valuable tools that come out of that. It is. I don't think. I wish everybody could just experience it at least once, to be in these spots where it's like yeah, to your point, like I'm turning 55 in another month, and I've been humbled by teenagers. It's crazy. It's crazy.
And they're just getting better and better,
Yeah.
the younger and younger, 'cause, see some of these compete and they're 7 and you're like,
Yeah.
did they just bolo to the back? My
Yeah.
grief. You're like, wow, okay. And then you see, I think it's unfair, you see like someone that's done jujitsu for 2 years, blue belt, step on the mat, and then you've got a blue belt juvenile that's, gone through their colored belts, and then kind of you put your head down for 5 minutes and think, oh no, oh dear, oh gosh, that poor man.
Yeah.
And that
Exactly.
teenager is just annihilated. You know, this poor guy that's thought, oh, do you know, I'm going to jump in this competition. I'll give it a whirl.
Belts are such a, in jujitsu at least, are such a, they mean nothing really in terms of, yeah, that skill level. Like you don't know like who you're facing, and what, like a blue belt could be, to your point, like destroy another black belt. Like it's,
Yeah, and you've got wrestlers and judokas
oh
coming
yeah.
through, and you see the wrestlers coming in for into nogi.
In my gym, we have Dagestani wrestlers
Oh yeah,
who are white and blue belts.
yeah, yeah, but they're not, are they?
No, what do you do with them, right? Because they don't have yet the techniques yet of jujitsu and stuff. But yet they'll maul you. They'll maul you.
This is the same as my friend Shay in Thailand. He went to America and wrestled, Division 3 NCAA, real good wrestler.
That's high level. Yeah.
Um, and he does no-gi, and he's a blue belt in no-gi jiu-jitsu.
See.
And I'm like, you're just ridiculous,
Yeah.
He's like a cat, just will not land on his back, just insanely athletic. He's fantastic to do rounds with, but I do not want to be in a wrestling match with him. Like he's like, you are not allowed to pull guard. Like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna sit down.
It's
Um,
terrifying with those guys.
I'm like, you just do a gentle ankle pick, and I'm like, I did not see that. I'm like, where did that come from? Like,
Yeah.
you just think, oh, you've been doing this all your life. I'm just like, I'm just gonna sit down and like, right, come here. Let's do some leg locks on you.
Yeah, that's
Get
right.
into my guard. Come on.
That's right. That's right. So you've been back to the Japan thing. You've been, alluding to like how much you love it, and how it feels like home. I'm assuming it has crossed your mind to actually make it your home. I'm just wondering, what is the challenge, that, like, why that hasn't transpired, or are there challenges around that we might not even?
Yes. So after the age of 30, you can't get a working visa. Again, one of Japan's they have lots of different,
Whoa.
yeah. You have to be sponsored by a company. So if you wanted to go and travel for a year, you could have under the age of 30, you could get a working visa. have a job for a year.
Right.
Um, After that, your class is old. Japan has these weird little rules. There's lots of little rules that some things we think that's backwards. They still use fax machines, for example. Um, I'm very,
That's shocking when you think it.
very proud of it, apparently. Um,
That's shocking. Wow.
but there is a new rule that came out this year about business visas that is quite interesting. That you can apply to go there and investigate a business for up to a year. You can't work in that year, but you can kind of pull together a business plan. Obviously, it's got to be in Japanese, submit it to that area that you want to go to, and then they give you a grace of up to 5 years
Oh.
to establish yourself. But it has to be, so say if I wanted to move to Tokyo, it has to be within the guidelines of what they want to have as to expand that area of tourism.
Oh,
Uh,
interesting.
so it's quite niche in different areas. Like say if they want to build agriculture, they're not going to approve someone with coming in that wants to have an IT company. They'll be like,
Right.
but that rule came in at the beginning of this year, so I thought, oh, otherwise it was going to be or still might be, go to a Japanese school, language school, for up to 2 years because you can work for up to 28 hours, a, 28 hours a week in a language school. Still go to language school, but you can get a part-time job and then try and get into somehow either get employed or try and, I guess, set up a business while you're there, while you're studying. But
So
that's
it's not easy.
no, not after 30.
Do they have anything like if I wanted to leave Canada, go to the U.S., for example? It can be quite a long process, but there is a way to even just apply for citizenship, and you're on. It's a super. It's technical and it's a long way to do it, but it's doable. Is there
Yeah.
anything like that?
So to become like a permanent resident, I think it's up to 10 years, but it's a point system. Um,
Oh,
so again, if you've passed Japanese exams, it's X amount of points. If you've got a degree, it's X amount of points. Um, but they are strict. I mean, usually it can take up to like a decade to become a permanent resident. Uh,
it's so interesting to me, especially in a country that like so many immigrants and stuff come into, and I'm sure the UK is the same way. Um, how they keep. I wonder why. I'm trying to think why it is so like that. I mean, obviously geographically, it's also a much smaller place too. So I guess they also would have to control population growth as well. But it's quite interesting.
I think they just, I don't
Are you
know,
trying to say they're xenophobic?
kind of don't want it overrun with too many foreigners.
Yeah,
Come visit, stay a little while, but put a cap on how long you stay here.
yeah,
Because you know what? They probably see Westerns as a little barbaric. Come on, we can't even keep our own country clean and well run. Why take over?
I I totally agree with it. I think I totally agree with it. But it just literally struck me just now. Like if we if we flip this, if we were having this conversation, I was saying this about people coming into Canada, I would be named everything under the sun right now negatively. I mean, uh,
Yeah, I mean,
it's
like
so interesting. It's such a different.
policy in the UK, come for 6 months, you can work, all of that, and come for longer. Why not? Um, Japan, you know, tourist visa for the UK, 3 months out you go.
Yeah. So do you feel like a little bit now that you're kind of caught between two worlds?
Yeah. Um, it's very much, I'm trying to figure out where best I would go to if it went to a Japanese school, because I want it heavily focused on conversation rather than focused on passing exams.
Yeah.
Um, And that's quite hard because they're quite traditionalist in their schooling. There's a few that are very focused on conversation. It's still not cheap. It's not cheap to go to language school. You have to basically, I'm very prepared to up sticks, sell the house, sell everything. And my parents know that, this is not new information.
Right, right. It's been
Uh,
going on a while.
yeah, it's very much more of where now, and then it would be you have to apply to the schools, and it's 4 times over the year
Oh,
with
wow.
waiting lists as well. You can't just suddenly go, I want to apply to then go next October. Well, there might not be a space next.
Oh, interesting. I never thought of that. Yeah.
And then it's now you have to have at least 150 hours worth of Japanese under your belt or pass the first N5 of their exams to get into school. I have over 150 hours. I mean, like I've studied it at a level where you can have it accredited to the hours.
Mm.
So that's not a problem, but it's more of those, they're not big things, but they are big things, where am I going to go? Um, and then apply. And then it's that on this end, it's, oh, the camera's gone.
Jeez Louise,
It's
man.
right.
And park it. Let's do
It's
this.
right. We're in language schools now. We're cool.
Oh my gosh. Glitched again, but we're back. Cameras or language schools.
It's all right. I'm just telling people how to go to language school in Japan. Again, it's one of those things. It's everything this end as well as that end. I have my own home. It's not just packing down
Yeah.
a 1 bedroom apartment. It's packing down a 3-bed house. And my
Yeah.
life. It's I'm look, my mum knows I'm very much that free spirit that would, if I could get in there tomorrow, I'd be like, I'm going.
Mm.
I'm at that stage. It's now, like it would be in the next couple of years. And I think most people who know me probably know that if I'm still here by the time I'm 50, I've made that decision. I'm not going. Um, and that life is very much has to stay in the UK. And Japan will
Interesting.
be somewhere that I'll visit. Um,
Have you ever thought about the path of just marrying somebody there
what, Japanese?
or someone as a citizen?
He's not a citizen. He's not hasn't got permanent residency. He'd probably be horrified watching this. He'd be like, "Don't you dare!" I mean, I think the distance probably suits him quite well. Much.
I wonder do people I'm sure people also though, but what about jokes aside though? Do people like is that a way an avenue people you can if you marry not you but anyone if you marry a
Yeah,
Japanese citizen you
that's
would obviously
yeah. If you marry a Japanese national,
right.
you
Do they put any guidance around that like because I know here in Canada I might be wrong on this, but I remember hearing something. In fact, if somebody marries someone to move to Canada, they have to be at least married then for at least 2 years before they could
Yes,
whatever.
2 year thing. It's that that is a spouse's visa then, but they can
Yeah,
get a job. It's so I think that's where some people have managed to get in through the door more easily than you know two Westerners trying to move to a country that doesn't really want the Westerners there for too long.
yeah.
Yeah, setting up businesses and I don't know. I think Japan does want to have that economy, right? The yen is pretty crap at the moment.
Oh, is it? I wasn't even really aware of that.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
great for me visiting. It's like half price.
no way.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. Obviously for me, not whoever's living in Japan. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. No
that's
kidding.
why I think I went 3 times last year.
Oh, okay. Because I always thought of like Japan being a very expensive place to travel.
Oh, it was super cheap. The hotels are the same price as, like you book at this end and it's the same price. It's not like $30 a night or anything. You're still looking at it's cheaper than America. I've looked to go.
Really?
Yeah, there's some places where I've gone to maybe like look to go and train at like AOJ or Atos, and I'm like, for a week training, you kind of look at a hotel and like, I'm gonna have to stay in a motel, you know? Like none of this hotel business. Whereas
Yeah.
you can be like, oh, okay, I could stay here and it's, a couple of £100 for a week, and if you get a good Airbnb, it's fairly cheap.
Yeah, the U.S. I'm going to be actually in San Diego next week, and it's yeah, it's so expensive. And I was even looking because I was going to go to Legion Jiu-Jitsu down there, and yeah, to your point, like everything is it's super expensive. And for I guess I don't know through movies and stuff, I always just thought that Japan was even another step above, even more expensive. But
No, at the moment, the yen is still down. I mean, Christmas is, we went for just over 2 weeks and, you know, hiring car was fairly cheap. The fuel is cheap. Food was cheap. It was just internal flights were cheap. Just the hotels were a bit expensive, but it was at Christmas and New Year,
hmm,
But I'd say if you can go now when it's cheap before the economy goes up.
it's not a bad idea. I actually should look into it. I'm way overdue for a vacation period. What do you have any like? What are your next goals, aspirations, things that you have on the go?
So jujitsu wise, little bit. I still haven't fully hung up the belt on the competition thing. I should do. No one really cares about masters. Um,
Don't say that, man. That's right.
no, but to be honest, I think IBJF are doing a good thing of like they do have like obviously the push masters at certain times of the year. I'm waving the flag for anyone over 40 who's a female as much as I can that to do jujitsu, do jujitsu. Um, I want to do a little bit more competing. I've only voiced that sort of every now and again, not to very many people, but now everyone will know. But I'm a bit of a bugger. I won't tell anyone I'm going to compete. I'll tell like my coach,
Yeah,
and I don't tell anyone else. I did that in September, and I sloped off under the guise I needed a digital detox, and I obviously my parents knew, um, but I flew to Japan, competed, put a post up online, and then carried on my holiday. Um,
I
I,
remember that actually.
I'm very much like that, I don't feel I've competed all my life. Like a lot of people who go into jujitsu or if it's brand new into this realm of combat sports, it's all very exciting to say you're going to compete, and um, I don't get the same buzz.
Hmm.
I compete, and I'm literally like, cool, next. I'm like, should we go
And
for food?
really,
Yeah, I don't get the buzz anymore. I don't get the buzz to the lead up. I don't get I get nervous, obviously, like it's not hitting weight. I walk around it like feather. I don't get anxiety like most. I hear people say they're really stressed, like the lead up to it. I'm like, obviously I want to win, and I visualize winning. I have my comp soundtrack that I listen to, and I have I have routines.
yeah, yeah.
But I don't ever. You hold my hand up, and I'm like, oh, cool. Let's go for food.
That's amazing.
I don't know why. I think because I've always competed, whether or not it's been martial arts or I swam at quite a high level.
Oh,
Um,
interesting. Yeah.
so I was a really bad sports person, as in bad sportsmanship as a teenager and a child. My mum can attest to that. I punched locker room doors. I had a really bad temper when I lost. I've worked that out of me now. Um, if I lose, I'm angry, but I'm like, okay, let's go back and fix things. It's not the end of the world, It's not my living. If it was my living, maybe I'd have a different thought process on it. But I'm like, oh, okay, gold medal, fantastic. Next.
Yeah, that's 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 admirable. Actually, that's pretty. I like that. That's
Yeah,
mm,
and I like to improve, especially like I said, going to Japan and competing against smaller people. Their jujitsu's different than what I train with every day.
really. It's that remarkable difference.
And my comment was like, there's no space. And everyone was like, yeah, there's no space with you. And I was like, but I don't get that. I can find a gap to put my foot, you know? I'm like, I will find a way to put my foot somewhere or my hand somewhere or to fill a space.
Yeah.
With someone who's my size, I'm often shorter than me. I'm like, where are the gaps? Like, what's going on here?
Interesting. Yeah.
Whereas in the UK, everyone is bigger, you know, by default. You know, maybe the average size of a female is around 60, 65 kilos.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have that luxury of rolling around and, you know, there's spaces left, right, and center. I'm like, oh, I've just put De La Riva in now. Fantastic.
Yeah. So you have to roll up on the kids.
I have to roll up on the kids. Fast and energetic and youthful. And I'm like, stop. I'm old.
You're not stop if you're old and I'm
I
ancient.
look a lot younger than I am. I mean, I'm actually fairly old.
All right, well, you don't have to divulge your actual age, but I don't. I yeah.
I'm Masters 3 in Jiu-Jitsu World.
Really.
Yeah. I never compete at Masters 3. I hate competing at my own age. They
I don't know where you are, but for me, I can't find people at my age to compete with. So I competed last weekend, and there were 20-year-olds. I had no choice.
Japan, huge Masters. Huge
Yeah.
cohort. Huge. Go to Japan.
Yeah.
Go to Japan, do Jiu-Jitsu and go on holiday while you're there.
It'll happen. It will happen. Yeah. Okay. I actually wrote down some what I called them legacy round questions. Okay. If you could go back to your first martial arts class and whisper something to that version of you, what would it be?
Oh.
So I guess that's way back to Taekwondo days, even.
Try all of the styles.
I love that.
I'll never ever regret my past of martial arts. I personally stayed in karate too long.
Interesting.
I think you can be very comfortable sitting in the belt that you are, especially after like you get your black belt and then, you know, I wanted my third dan. You know, you want to be called that Western sensei, don't you? Um, you kind of look at that, you're like, that's a stepping stone. And I think when I got my third, I should have gone more, more.
Hmm.
Don't get comfortable. You know, I think I got complacent, you know, just being
Hmm.
like, okay, you're all right. You know, you done well, but more. So I think if it was the young girl in me, be like, do them all. Try all of them, you know. You can specialize, you know, if it's judo, you can it does cross over jiu-jitsu now, you know, that you know, it's
Yeah.
singular. You know, there's more avenues now for people to go into
Oh yeah.
wrestling, into nogi, into jiu-jitsu, into judo. You know, if it's the striking, you've got the MMA route, you know, but try them all. Just don't get hung up on just the one. Just the one.
Yeah.
Don't be tunnel vision.
Great advice.
You know, a lot
You,
of people will to the death do the one martial arts, and that's fine. But I think you're missing out on another world and another community as well.
yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And people get so stuck in tunnel vision within their own thing as well. And you're right. Now it's so different. Like even at the place that I train, shout out Maple Jiu Jitsu. um, they have high level coaches in like I talk like Canadian Olympic team judo, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, American freestyle wrestling, and Greco-Roman wrestling, all under one roof with like folks that are like I said, Dagestani wrestlers, like high level. So today it's just amazing for kids that get that exposure.
Learn so much from those different people and their cultures, you know, just like
Yeah,
if they, you know, if they're from different places that specialize in that style and that
yeah.
sport, you can take so much from them. I do think I don't know whether it's an ego thing, and I wouldn't want to say that out loud, but I do feel that sometimes people get to that belt,
Oh yeah.
or fifth, sixth, and God forbid they put a white belt on.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've seen that. Yeah, it's true.
And
Like
you're like, trust me, no one really gives a crap what other style you came from.
no,
When I went to
and it's
jiu-jitsu,
freeing.
I didn't tell anyone I did karate. It was
Yeah.
only the MMA boys that were joking around with me one day. They were like, "Oh, you should do striking," and I literally did. I did a moshigari, Jodan moshigari, held it, brought it back. And my coach knew that I did, crying. And they were like, "Oh my God, you should do MMA." I was like, "No, no, I'm here to grapple." And then
Yeah.
flick it back up. And I was just like, I was doing striking before you were holding a spoon.
What's the most important lesson martial arts has taught you outside of the dojo?
Outside. Oh, oh dear. Um, Patience, but it's still a learning curve for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I can relate in that one.
Yeah, patience.
Was there ever a moment that you thought about quitting? I guess all of it, because since you're just walking away from martial arts altogether, and why didn't you? If that ever crossed your mind?
No. There was always a question mark over when should I really look at another style?
Right.
And that was very much after my third dan.
Right.
Um, but not to quit. I actually don't know what I would do. If someone took it, said you could never do any martial arts again, you were not allowed. I don't know what I would do. What do you do? What do people do in their evening?
I know. I think about the same thing.
Day as well. Um, I like the gym, and you know, ugh, what would I do? I don't know. And I've been brought up in the gi. I love the gi. I I feel like I'm more myself with my gi on than I am day to day.
When that comes to nogi as well.
I'm a different person in no gi.
Oh wow, we should have touched on that. That's interesting.
Yeah, I had two versions of me. I feel a bit more scrappy in no gi. I'm a bit.
People tend to be though.
Yeah, I'm a bit of like, all of a sudden I want to take your head off or your feet off.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm
Yeah. I
the
relate.
part of me clicks in, purely because it was two disciplines for a long time. I'm a very different player in the gi. I think far more technical. I'm much better in gi than I'm no gi, and I will always admit that. Even though I
Mhm.
did no gi for quite a while, I love the gi. I love the gi. And I will study the gi. Um, I won't study no gi.
So
Um,
that's it. I went exact opposite. When I left Kyokushin with going into jiu-jitsu, I didn't want to put on a gi again, and I loved no gi, loved it. Now I've been constantly only doing gi lately, and I love it. It's so technical. It's yeah.
it's weird. I don't think I would know what to do with myself if I couldn't train. What do people do, honestly? What's that?
I'm joking. How has martial arts changed your view on the world, if any, or your place in it?
Um, I think martial arts can literally change people's lives for the better, obviously for the worse. I think, um, look, there are some people in the martial art world that shouldn't be in control of other people's lives.
No
And
kidding.
I'm I've seen that in all cycles of it,
Yeah.
particularly, um, look, in karate, there were very few high level women. I've had the whole lecce older men slant thing, and I'm like, you're using your power thing here with your downgrades, and it's not appropriate. In the jiu-jitsu world, I've come across narcissistic coaches, and I mean lunatics that should not be in control of anyone, let alone have females in their gym. Um, and I think it has the power to create someone's world and it has the power to destroy them. And depending on your own mind, and I'm very strong-willed.
Mm.
I'm very happy to walk away from a situation, and I'm very happy to have a confrontation about it. I think more people should call people out, and I think that's a confidence thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I do think it has an extraordinary power to create careers and lives and be positive. You know, I was bullied. No one will ever bully me again, ever. Not
Mm.
because I think I can handle myself. I just know I have the inner confidence just to be like, I'm walking away from this situation. You are not putting me in that mindset where I'm struggling. And it's never happening. That I've had that once, it will never happen again, and you do not have power over me. Whether you not you can physically or mentally, I don't care. Um, so I do think it instills that in Taekwondo it's called indomitable spirit as part of
Yeah.
like tenets or commands as far as I can recall.
Yeah.
Um,
It is. I remember my days. Yeah.
and you do have that inner confidence. And again, I travel the world on my own. And again, not to think that I can handle myself. That's, you know, I'm a small human being, but the confidence that I can get up and go and do something and feel confident and independent and do it. And I do
Yeah.
think that comes from martial arts. I really do.
Yeah. It's well said. And even to your point, like even you were saying, like even physically, it's not about the physical thing. There's actually a lot to that. And even in, sadly, predators who are looking for victims. People like with your confidence that you will carry yourself differently.
Yeah.
There will be an air about you that's different. They're not predators will stay away from that.
Yeah, my mum used to say I should walk into a place and it would have an aura of "fuck off" on your face. Sorry, but it was, and I do probably have that stamped across my forehead. I really don't mean it because I'm really approachable. Apparently I'm not, but you know, I am. I'm just, you know, when you walk in somewhere, especially a new city, and you're traveling on your own, you're a female, you've got luggage with you, you've got a rucksack, like I have to have this air of confidence about me,
Yeah.
you know, like not a wallflower. I'm not a wallflower. I was very much a wallflower as a child. Um, I'm not now, and much to probably my coach, my friends are like, "Oh gosh, Ira must think she's like a 95 kilo guy, burly muscles," and you know, I just I'm the one, I will be again the person that puts their head above the parapet. I will always stand my ground if it's just. And I'll stand my ground for other people. Whether or not I get myself into trouble, I don't care. I'm too old to care now. I'm like, if it's for the right reasons, I will stand my ground for other people as well. Um, you know, put me first, it's fine.
I love that. All right. When it's all said and done, whatever that means, what legacy do you want to leave behind?
That you can start martial arts at any age. Look, I've started when I was a little girl. I then restarted another style as a teenager, and then I was nearly 34 starting jiu-jitsu.
Facts. I started jiu-jitsu in my 50s.
Yeah, and I picked up judo again, and you know, I'm in my 40s, and I'm now starting to pick up wrestling. My midlife
Hmm.
crisis, as I'm turning up to Thailand with wrestling boots. Oh hell. Yeah, that'll be my legacy. It's you can start not only that, you can start anything at any age.
Yeah.
You put
I
a
love it.
limit on the age thing, the number, why bother living?
Well said. Perfect. Actually, that's a perfect place to wrap it. Thank you so much for taking this time. I
Oh,
have no idea how long we just went, but um,
I was
I
coming
really,
to
it was awesome. Really, really, I really Yeah, you're a natural at this, and you're a natural storyteller.
I can talk. I've got a lot of stories. I told you I had a lot of stories.
I love it. I love it. But yeah, thank you so much. Sorry about the technical glitches. I will get them sorted out. But
Well, honestly, if I'm in Japan and you're in Japan at the same time, I will be like, right, get the train here. I'll meet you at the station.
I'll take you up on it for sure. Yes, along with Todd as well. I
Yeah,
really, I
I mean, like, you just got to pin him down in which part of the country he's in.
All right, Ira. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your evening, and I can't thank you enough for this. And before we wrap it, where can people, if you did inspire anyone enough to reach out, where can they find you?
Well, as everyone probably does have Instagram, it's my name, but it's E.I.RAA. You can find me. I have got a little Ghibli anime as me at the moment. I think I've
Yes, I saw that.
yeah.
I'll put it in the description as
Follow
well.
me around the world. Come join me.
Yeah, you should start like vlogging or something. Some of this stuff.
Got more stuff to add to the list of things.
Sorry. All right. Okay. Thank you so
So
much.
much. Have a good afternoon and the rest of your Saturday.
Appreciate it. All right. Bye for now.